Hi guys, Ruggero here from One Foot in the Door, and this is the second part in a two-part video about how to find the characters from a script. So if you haven't seen the first part, please do go and check it out because this will not make much sense otherwise, okay? Link down below. And so let's jump right in. So this was requested by Luck and Boone, who asked, can you make a video holding a script in your hand and finding character from it? So in the last video we looked at how to find the pillar informations by reading the script. So we read the script and we found out a series of information, of basic information about the backstory and about the relationship between the characters. Those are key points that have to remain there even after we have done the rest of the work that we'll do today. Okay? Now, before we jump into what we're going to do, I want to show you a little clip.
Listen to me, you backwoods shit-ass you. You got about 2 seconds to get the sheriff out of here. I'm gonna kick the goddamn door in, okay?
Brilliant performance by Gene Hackman there in Mississippi Burning. Fantastic movie, go check it out. So what is brilliant about that, it's how unexpected it is. It's the fact that if you just look at the lines are a threat. Most actors would have played that as a threat and maybe even raising their volume, maybe even, trying to be threatening. What Gene Hackman does is the opposite. He lets the words do their job and he plays something completely different. He's nice and charming. That creates this contrast between this juxtaposition of feelings of what he's saying and how he's saying it, and that makes it interesting. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do it all the time. It doesn't work if you do it all the time, but it's important that now that we know what the story is about, it's important that now when we analyze it, we think laterally about what can we do that is interesting. So, first thing we need to look at is we need to find what is the end point of the story for our character. So in the emotional journey within the story, where does our character end? Okay. So our character of Jason, so we're focusing on Jason here, he ends with the threat. So he says, I don't think you understand. You know what you make me do to your friend Michael? I can do the same to you, or even worse. Do you like the idea of spending the rest of your life sitting in a chair and eating from a straw? That is a huge, strong threat. All right. If that is the end point of the character, what we want to do is at the beginning of the scene, we want to put him in a different place emotionally. Okay. So let's see what is the beginning. And in this, the script helps us a little bit. It will not always do that. Okay. This one does. So the beginning is he's quite casual. So Richard asks, has anyone seen you? Only every single person on the street. I told you to come later. Relax, James Bond. Nobody gives a shit. So he's joking around. He's joking around. He's relaxed. He's not at all threatening, right? So where is now? So we need, if he's relaxed and charming at the beginning and threatening at the end. So where is the change, the gear change between the two? So we have several possibilities. Okay, you can say that there are a sequence of gear changes. Okay, so after the James Bond line, Richard goes, you went too far. You said you wanted him in hospital. You left him paralyzed. And I guess he won't be coming after your job anytime soon. These ones could be played still in the same way. So quite casual, relaxed, and sort of almost mocking Richard a little bit. Or you could play him like you get a bit more serious as you go, for example. The big gear change, the first at least one, is when Richard hands him the envelope. So Richard stares at Jason for a moment, grabs an envelope from the table and hands it over to Jason. It's more than what I said. Jason looks at the envelope but doesn't touch it, looks up at Richard. This is not what we agreed. This is a very good moment to put a gear change, to put a shift. You could still play him as playful, but we need to see that this is not what he expected and is not what he wants. Okay, we need to see that there is a reaction to the fact that he's being offered money instead of a job, which is what he wanted, right? It's over 4,000, which should make him what, 15 minutes? I told you I want a job. I can't give you that. Jason just stares at Richard. You never even finished high school. There's no way they'll hire you. Hire me yourself then. Personal assistant. I'll work my way up from there. No, sorry. Jason steps closer to Richard, and then we get to the main monologue. So somewhere in here, we see another step up, another gear change. So if the first one is when he sees the envelope, I would probably put the second one after no sorry, when he steps closer to Richard. And this is when he raises the stakes. So one thing I would probably tell the actor if I was directing would be to say, make the decision there to threaten him. Make the decision, so show me that change in the attitude, okay? And for the next part, there are, again, several ways of doing this. One way can be to actually going back to being extremely charming, like Gene Hackman did in that performance, right? When he's just super charming and smiling unless the words do their job. Another way can be instead to be threatening, but there are, again, several ways of being threatening. Usually, if what you say is threatening, you don't want to also get threatening in your performance too much. So raising the volume, getting, if you go like, I don't think you understand. You know what you make me do to your friend Michael? I can do the same to you, or even worse. Like, that's a bit much, usually. Don't get me wrong, you can create a character for whom it will make sense to act like that. But in general, you're sort of hitting the audience over the head a bit too much. So the words are doing one thing and you're doing the same thing. So another way can be to do the opposite. Instead of getting more heated, get cooler, cool down, slow down, lower the volume, and get very intense. We talked about intensity before. One way of doing this is to just don't blink for a little bit. Don't blink, find that stillness, don't blink, and just deliver the lines. That can become very, very powerful, because in a similar way to what we saw Gene Hackman do, you let the words do their job and you just go neutral. Again, you create a distance between what is being said and the fact that you're actually very neutral and just kind of intense in your stare, and that can become extremely effective. Okay, so these are all ways to analyze your script, okay, to analyze everything. So let's recap. We know that we need to have a first emotional state, which from the script itself, in this case, we see is very relaxed and kind of, chilled, making jokes. As I said, not all scripts will be like this. Sometimes you need to just make the arc, make the emotional shift. It might not be in the script. In this case, it is. And so first emotional state, chilled, whatever. First gear change when he's given the money. Second bigger gear change when Richard refuses and he makes the decision to step up and actually threaten Richard. And then how to perform the threat, trying to find an interesting and unexpected way of doing that rather than just getting angry, basically. This is, I think, an effective analysis of this script. Now, once you have all of this, what you want to do is go back to the pillars that we talked about in the last video. And now you need to fill in the blanks. So how do you create a character for whom it makes sense to behave like this? So know how you choose. If you choose to go with, I don't know, the charming threat like Gene Hackman, it needs to make sense. That might be a bit of a psychopath in a way. It might be, you know, someone who is actually a bit psychopathic. If instead you go for the neutral one, that could be someone actually that we might even sympathize with, potentially, in the sense that we see, if you show us the struggle, how he's maybe trying to become better, and he needs to make the decision to become violent again, or to threaten violence again, maybe there is a cost to that decision, and maybe we want to see that cost. Okay, whether we do or not, you know, that's a different thing, but you might want to choose that. Once you have decided all this, build your character in a way that makes sense, in a way that he becomes a person that would actually behave like this. Okay. At that point, there are many different ways. Some people like to write down the backstory of their characters. Another exercise that I think is quite useful is this. You put a few random objects around the room, and you take your time, you walk around the room, and every so often you just pick up an object and imagine that that object is something that your character reminds him of a person that he loved and lost. And then the next character is the best experience of his life. And then the next object is a character that he really hates. And then, you know, stuff like that. It's easier to do this if it's a guided exercise that you do in a group, for example. It's something you can do, you know, for theater quite a lot. You can do it by yourself, for example. The advantage of having the object in your hand is that it grounds you, and then it is just a matter of imagination. Another very useful thing to do is some improvisations. So once you build up a few things, so maybe you've written a bit of a backstory, and then you've done a little bit of this exercise, maybe you came up with more details of the character, and then you start improvising a little bit as the character. Simple things like, you know, getting ready for work or receiving a bad phone call or whatever. If you have someone else to work with, great, that's even better. You might not, you know, it depends. You need to find ways of basically what it is, you're looking for a hook into the character. So a way to get comfortable in the shoes of your character. Okay. And then, of course, if you have other people, it's always great to do some reaction things, like the repetition exercise from Meissner, for example. And even just to play around with the lines as much as possible. Just forget all of this and just play around with the lines, saying them out loud in a completely different way every single time. And you never know, you might find something interesting. And if you do it, you like it, you can maybe incorporate it and see. Obviously, all of this is preparation that you need to do on your own, because on camera especially, we don't really have time to rehearse. Most directors don't rehearse nowadays, so you have to be ready and you need to know what you're doing, basically. Okay, guys, I know I've thrown at you a ton of information here. As I said, I go a lot more into detail about this and take you through a step-by-step process in my online screen acting course, Unboxing Screen Acting. Link down below. Volume 1 is out now, and you can get a free lesson if you sign up on the link below, so check it out. There's a ton to be said, okay, but it's fun. It is actually really fun to do once you start playing around with these things, so you can get really in depth about these characters. And so I hope this helps. Please, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, please like, share and subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about when I post a new video. And I will see you soon. Bye bye.